Did you know that 90% of people who have a stroke don't realize it until it's too late? They just feel a slight dizziness and their mouth twists for a while, and then they stop. Or they suddenly start stuttering and think it's because they're tired. But just a few hours later, they're lying motionless in a hospital bed, unable to speak, unable to walk, and sometimes unable to return home. A stroke doesn't discriminate by age. It can strike a mother who has just given birth, a lawyer working at night, or an ordinary person at a family party. And most importantly, you'll learn how to recognize a stroke in just a few seconds, so you never have to say, "I wish I knew," sooner. So how do you recognize the first distress signals your body sends? Let's find out 3 extremely important warning signs that any one of us, especially those who are 50 or older, should know by heart. Watch until the end, because just one small sign that is overlooked can change a person's life. Sign 1. A droopy face, a broken smile. Remember the story of Regina, a 58-year-old woman who suddenly felt tingling in her face and her mouth drooping while attending a family party. That is one of the first signs of a stroke, commonly known as facial drooping. Pay attention if suddenly one side of someone's face droops, looking asymmetrical when smiling. This is an extremely clear warning. Sometimes, one corner of the mouth will be pulled down, the smile becomes distorted, or one eye may droop. The patient may also feel numbness or tingling on one side of the face, like a slight electric current running through it or a constant feeling of ants crawling. To quickly check for this sign, ask the person to smile brightly. If the smile is no longer aligned, one side of the face is not moving or is sagging, it is time to take immediate action. Don't be subjective and think it is just fatigue or aging, because small changes in the face are big alarm bells. If the face is the first window to signal a problem. The arms and mobility are the second sign that cannot be ignored, often indicating damage to the areas of the brain that control movement. Sign 2. Sudden weakness in the arms and legs, difficulty moving or being unable to stand. Remember the case of Jessica, the young mother who just gave birth, suddenly could not stand up from the chair and her legs were weak. Or like Hugo, the stressed lawyer who suddenly collapsed. This is the second sign, often called limb weakness, sudden weakness in the arms or legs, usually occurring on only one side of the body. Imagine if you or a loved one were holding an object and suddenly dropped it without control, or tried to raise both arms, but one arm kept falling down, unable to hold it level with the other. Here is a simple but extremely effective test. Ask the person to raise both arms up high and hold for about 10 seconds. If one arm becomes weak and gradually drops, it is a serious warning sign. Similarly, when walking, the patient may suddenly feel off balance, walk unsteadily, not as steady as usual, or even collapse. They may also feel numbness or tingling suddenly in one arm or leg. These symptoms are not due to temporary fatigue or old age, but are signs that part of the brain may be lacking blood supply, directly affecting the ability to control movement. This loss of motor control is an emergency signal, requiring immediate medical intervention. In addition to obvious physical symptoms, communication is also an important channel to recognize stroke, sometimes even more obvious than physical signs. Sign 3. Abnormal speech, difficulty expressing or understanding what others say. Recall Jessica's case. Her husband immediately noticed that her speech was unclear after the dizziness. This is the third sign you need to pay close attention to. Difficulty speaking, stuttering, or even not being able to speak, or not understanding what others are saying. This is called language disorder. The person may suddenly slur their words, jumble their words, or mispronounce words. You will feel like they are trying to speak but can't find the right words. Sometimes they understand you, but can't respond clearly. To test for this sign, ask the person to say a simple, familiar sentence, such as, "It's a beautiful day," or "My name is their name." If they are slurred or unable to repeat a sentence clearly, this is a very alarming sign. Difficulty communicating, whether speaking or understanding, indicates a problem with the part of the brain that controls language. And this is one of the most common symptoms of stroke. These three signs: facial droop, sudden weakness in the arms, legs, and difficulty speaking, are the keys to early stroke recognition. We cannot guess or wait. When we see any of these signs, even if they are fleeting and then disappear like Regina's case, we cannot be complacent. Remember, time is brain. Every moment of hesitation can cost the patient's ability to recover. Getting the patient to the emergency room as soon as possible opens up a golden opportunity for doctors to apply modern treatments such as thrombolytics or thrombectomy, which can restore blood flow to the brain and save precious nerve cells. Have you ever witnessed someone experiencing similar symptoms? Share your story so we can raise awareness about this disease. Never wait to see signs of a stroke. You see, the three cases I mentioned at the beginning of the article, Jessica, Hugo, and Regina, although their circumstances and symptoms are different, they all have one thing in common. They have experienced a stroke. And the most important thing that helps them have a chance to recover, or at least minimize the consequences, is time. Today, medicine has advanced by leaps and bounds. About 20 years ago, when I graduated from medical school, if someone had a stroke and was admitted to the hospital, there wasn't much we could do. After a CT scan to rule out a brain hemorrhage, we could only give them aspirin and watch them. But now, things are different. We have powerful drugs that can dissolve blood clots, lifesavers that can restore blood flow and brain function quickly. We can even perform endovascular procedures to directly access and open blocked arteries in the brain. I've seen miracles. People who came to the hospital unable to speak or move their arms and legs, but within hours of receiving drugs or interventions, they were talking clearly and walking normally again. That's why, if you or a loved one has any of the symptoms I just mentioned, even if they are fleeting and then disappear, don't wait. Don't try to guess. Don't go online to search for information and then self-medicate. Every second counts. Get the person to the nearest emergency room immediately. I'll say it again. Time is brain. The sooner you get to the hospital, the more opportunities the doctor has to intervene promptly, perhaps using thrombolytic drugs or performing a clot aspiration. This can not only save the patient's memory, speech, and ability to walk, but also save their life. Don't let our hesitation rob you of that golden opportunity. What are the types of strokes, and why do the symptoms differ? So, what is a stroke, and why can it cause such a wide variety of symptoms? A stroke is a medical emergency that occurs when blood flow to a part of the brain is interrupted. When blood doesn't reach an area of the brain, it's severely deprived of oxygen and nutrients, and with each passing second, millions of precious brain cells can die forever. There are two main types of stroke. Ischemic stroke. This is the most common type, accounting for about 85% of cases. It occurs when an artery in the brain becomes blocked, usually by a blood clot. The clot can form locally or travel to the brain from somewhere else in the body, like the heart or carotid artery. Hemorrhagic stroke. This type is less common but often more serious. It occurs when a blood vessel in the brain bursts, causing bleeding into or around the brain dot around the brain tissue. It is usually caused by a brain aneurysm, a weak spot in the blood vessel wall, or a weakened blood vessel that bursts. Another important concept you need to know is TIA, transient ischemic attack, also known as a mini stroke. The symptoms of a TIA are identical to those of a real stroke: facial distortion, arm-leg weakness, difficulty speaking, but they only last a few minutes or hours and then go away on their own. Never take a TIA lightly. Although the symptoms go away, a TIA is an extremely strong warning sign that you are at very high risk of having a real stroke in the near future. It is like a reminder from your body, signaling that it is time to change and see a doctor. Immediately. Why do stroke symptoms vary from person to person? It depends on the area of the brain that is damaged. Our brain is an extremely complex organ, each area responsible for a separate function. If a stroke occurs in the language area, usually in the left hemisphere, you will have difficulty speaking, understanding others, and may have weakness on the right side of your body. If a stroke occurs in the right hemisphere, you may have weakness on the left side of your body, memory problems, or personality changes. If the cerebellum is affected, you will lose balance, have trouble coordinating movements, and walk unsteadily. Because of this complexity, recognizing the early signs and getting the patient to the hospital in time is extremely important, so that doctors can quickly identify the affected brain area and apply the most appropriate treatment method. Who is at high risk for stroke? Stroke is not a random disease, but it often has accomplices that are risk factors. Recognizing and controlling these factors is key to effective stroke prevention. High blood pressure. This is the #1 risk. High blood pressure puts pressure on the walls of blood vessels, making them weak and vulnerable, leading to blockage or rupture. Smoking. Smoking damages blood vessels, increasing the risk of blood clots, arrhythmias, especially atrial fibrillation. AFib. Atrial fibrillation causes the heart to beat irregularly, easily creating blood clots in the heart, which can travel to the brain and cause a stroke. Cardiovascular disease. Diseases such as heart failure, heart valve disease, all increase the risk. Diabetes. Continuously. High blood sugar damages blood vessels and nerves. High cholesterol causes plaque buildup in the arteries, narrowing and hardening of blood vessels. Obesity and sedentary lifestyle contribute to high blood pressure. Diabetes. High cholesterol. Family history of stroke. Genetic factors also play a role. Stroke is getting younger. Why? What is worrying is that stroke is no longer a disease of the elderly. We are witnessing more and more cases of stroke in young people, even those as young as 30 to 40 years old. The reason is that the above risk factors are appearing earlier in our lives. High blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, sedentary lifestyle, unhealthy eating habits, prolonged stress are becoming more common in younger people. A stroke in a young person can cause extremely serious consequences, seriously affecting the ability to work, the ability to be independent, the burden on the family, and the future ahead. Therefore, stroke prevention is not only for the elderly, but for everyone from a young age. How to prevent stroke effectively. Prevention is better than cure. That's the golden rule. To protect your brain and reduce your risk of stroke, start doing the following today. Control your blood pressure well. Measure your blood pressure regularly and follow your treatment if you have high blood pressure. Quit smoking. This is one of the most important things you can do for your vascular health. Control your blood sugar and blood lipids. If you have diabetes or high cholesterol, follow your treatment regimen and make lifestyle changes. Eat a healthy diet. Increase green vegetables, fruits, whole grains. Limit processed foods, foods high in fat, sugar, and salt. Exercise regularly. Whether it's brisk walking, swimming, cycling, or yoga, try to exercise at least 30 minutes a day, most days of the week. Lose weight if you're overweight or obese. Maintaining a healthy weight helps reduce the burden on your cardiovascular system. Regular health checkups to detect and control risk factors early. Finally, Take action today to protect the future. Stroke is a dangerous enemy, but not invincible. With great medical advances and, more importantly, our understanding and timely action, the ability to recover from a stroke has increased significantly. Always remember the signs of a stroke through the BE Fast tool and never hesitate when you see any suspicious signals. Every moment is precious and can change a life. Are you doing today to protect your brain and your loved ones? Don't forget, every small action today can bring a healthier, more fulfilling life in the future. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you find this content useful, please share it with your loved ones, especially those who are at high risk, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, or arrhythmia, because just one small action, one share, one early recognition can save a life. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next videos on how to take care of your heart, prevent stroke, diabetes, atrial fibrillation, and many other middle-aged diseases. If you have witnessed someone having a stroke or have questions about the symptoms, leave a comment below. I always read and respond to every share. Once again, thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next video. Wishing you and your family good health.